Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. So it's been a while since I've been in the garden, but let's give you a quick tour of what needs doing because I need to get on top of stuff real fast. So the garden's an absolute mess at the minute because I haven't been here for about a month. It's the first time I've stepped into the garden in a very long time, and the grass has grown really long. I mean, we've been doing no more May without even doing no more May, but yeah, so that's what I'm doing, all right? But anyway, let's get onto the garden and I'll show you what's going on down here. So our garlic planted through cardboard is coming on a treat. This year we've got some crazy amount of sycamore plants. The sycamore seedlings just seem to have gone mental this year. So, but they're going to make a great mulch. We'll just pull them out. I might even get the hoe on here. So around here I've got my garlic planted, and in the middle of that I've got my broad beans planted, and the flowers on them are absolutely wonderful. They've come on absolutely beautiful. We just need to do a little bit of weeding on these sycamore seedlings. It's the most sycamore seedlings I've ever seen this year. It must have been down to the heat last year and the drought conditions that we had, but we'll get them weeded. They're not difficult to weed. I mean, they pull out really easy, and they make a nice little mulch as well. So you just pull them out and leave them on the surface, especially in the sun like this. They're not going to come back to life, but they'll just go on and feed the soil. Some of these broad beans need actually staking and tying in. What I've done deliberately amongst this garlic is I've left big patches like this area that you just saw me pull these seedlings out of. And I've left that deliberately because I'll come in and I'll probably plant a tomato plant in there later on this month or maybe next month. When I start planting my tomatoes outside, then that's where, in these patches that I've got scattered around amongst my garlic, that's where they're going to go. So going into these beds as well, there's lots more garlic planted all over the place. I've got patches left over, like I explained, for me to plant other things into the middle of. There's sections here where I'm going to plant some salads and probably some cabbages and stuff. Down here is where my runner beans are going to go once I get this gutter shifted. And my arch collapsed last winter during the storms, and I never had the chance to fix them and get them back up, but we'll do that and get them back up this year. Oh, well, in the next couple of weeks. We'll have runner beans planted down here, and we'll get them planted straight into the ground. We're not going to bother starting them off in containers or anything like that. What I've found is runner beans just really catch up quite easily if you just go and plant them straight into the ground. Yeah, some more garlic down here, and I've got to find some space for my onions. Over here, what I've got is my wood chip bed. And these are where I'm planting my potatoes. I had the people from Permaculture design course in Leeds come over, and they did an absolutely cracking job of helping me plant loads of potatoes into these beds, and you can see the potatoes starting to come through just there. I've done loads of videos on how I plant my potatoes in wood chip. I'll leave a link for it up here. You can go and have a look at that. But they'll make a nice addition to this. They always do well for me. And this bed really performed poorly last year, so that's one of the reasons that I've gone heavily on wood chips and potatoes to try and rejuvenate this bed, try and bring it back to life. It struggled a lot because of lack of rain. This part of the ground, that big sycamore tree up there, does suck a lot of water up, and that's the tree that Moz very kindly came around, and Graham came around, and we fixed that bed up. We fixed that tree up really nicely. They've done a cracking job on it. It's just about to come back into bud, so we'll see the kind of shadow it casts this year. Hopefully it'll give us a lot more place to work with now that the light that's going to take has dramatically been reduced. This arch is being held up by the bamboos and everything else. I need to make something more permanent, but I think we'll get one more season out of it. So I've got a never-ending list of things to do, but this is one thing that's not going to be one that I have to do. Look, there's a snail there. We need to get rid of them. We'll have runner beans growing up the side of these arches like we did last year on both sides, and we'll have them climbing over the top. and yeah, it's strong enough to hold on to the runner beans for a bit longer, and then this will probably need to be replaced by something a little bit more permanent. I've got some water piping that I can use to fix this up that Nitin gave me, and I'll use that to turn this into something a little bit more permanent and something a little bit nicer looking as well. This arch is on my list of things to get rid of this year, so I'm going to get rid of this arch, lift it all the way up, and we'll get something a lot higher. We'll get the gourds growing a lot higher. I mean, that's the same thing I'm going to do with the arch over there. We'll get rid of that. I had potatoes over here last year, and you can see some of the volunteer potatoes coming up, but back here I've got a couple of lines of gutter peas that I need to plant, so let's get those planted into the ground right now. The best way to get these peas out of the ground is make sure that you give them a good soaking with water before you try and get them out, otherwise they won't slide out as easily. The plans have already changed. We're not going to plant the peas there. My mum wants to plant runner beans there, so let's go somewhere else with our peas. We had peas here last year, and we'll have them again this year, but in order to make it life a little bit easier, these sticks just need to come out before I get them in. And all of those sticks, they're all from privet clippings, so if you have a privet hedge, absolutely a phenomenal resource, a really useful resource. In my opinion, it's one of the most undervalued resources around, privet hedge clippings, because they're great for compost and they're great for holding onto, they grow some nice straight sticks. You can use them to make pea sticks quite easily. As you can see, the effect of the wood chip. This ground has been, it's absolutely wonderfully held onto with moisture, but at the same time there's worms here, there's mycelium, so all this white stuff that you can see, that's fungus, it's mushroom fungus, so it's great for your soil, absolutely wonderful. We'll grow a line of peas all the way down. Shake, 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 shake. Just keep shaking, and there you go. It should just slide out just like so, and perfectly into position. Just cover that up. Make sure the plants are out from underneath any mulch. You don't want to cover it up too much, especially when it's heavily mulched as it is here. All you need to do is just allow enough space and clearance for the mulch just to fall back into place. So as long as it falls back around this side without compressing the plants, I'm happy. Just give the plants a little bit of help getting back up. There we go. We'll get the sticks back in place. The same on this side. Just give the place enough space for mulch to fall back in. And that's it. Awesome. So what I always like to do is these little skinny ones, they can go in the middle, so you can get the plants up and around. And the longer ones, just give it the structure and the frame from the sides. Once the tentacles get hold of it, they'll be flying up here in no time. And I know someone's going to come along and say, oh, you said tentacles and they're actually called tendrils. What you'll notice is I'm leaving a gap in between the two lines of peas, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to put in a wall that I can't get through and get around, because I want to be able to harvest these with some relative convenience. There we go, all the soil's out. And my next line of gutter peas can go in. See, the key is with these gutter peas is make sure you soak them, otherwise they're not going to slide out as easily as you want. And then shake, 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 shake. There we go. Because of the thickness of the roots, it just holds everything in place. So I can pull it this way and adjust it if I want to, because just haven't got enough space on that side. But there we go, it's in. Okay. Gutter peas are in. And very quickly, because of the way we garden, we don't have to prep the soil as much. We can catch up on a lot of where we were, you know, because I fell so far behind from not being here for a month. We can catch up on it now. I'll get some sticks into the ground on that one and we'll be away. So fixing these compost bays is something that's still on my list of things to do. I've got to sort all those twigs out before I get around to doing it. So that's one thing that I need to do before I can fix all these compost bays and get this corner under control. It almost feels like one of those things that is on my list of things to do every year, but I just don't have the time to do it because it's never urgent enough. But this year I think it is going to be urgent. So let's just have a quick look at my vermicompost and see how that's doing and give this a little bit of a mix up. You can see the worms doing their magic here. Absolutely awesome. And there's some good compost in there to harvest actually. Yes, 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 yes. All these containers that I rescued, we've planted some potatoes into some of them. And what I'll do is I'll have a line of tomatoes going down the rest of it. We'll have nice tomato plants here. So into the greenhouse, and we've got all our young seedlings in here. We've got loads and loads of tomatoes, chilies, loads of naga that I need to actually pot up before I plant them into the final destination. So we'll do a little bit of that now. So these are some basket of fire chilies. They grow absolutely wonderful. They grow some really nice small hot chilies. And they're quite compact plants as well. So into my little homemade compost, we'll get a couple of plants back in here, the smaller ones, to grow on. These bigger plants need potting up individually. I know I told a few people that I'd have some chili plants for sale this year, but because of everything that's been going on personally, I've just not been able to look after the plants as well and get them to the point where I can sell them on. The quality's just not been good enough, so I do apologise for that. So all my chili plants are potted up, and now it's time to make sure that they get a good water and a good soak. Just leave them soaking in that. Make sure that there's plenty of water for them to sit in for a little while. If you're transplanting seedlings when it's sunny and when it's hot, make sure that you leave them in a good amount of water to soak in for a good while, because they'll wilt really easy. Because we're already treating them quite rough, separating the roots, ripping them apart and stuff like that, we're treating them quite harsh. So make sure that you give them that chance to recover. And one of the best ways is to just leave them soaking, just like everyone else likes, soaking in a hot tub after a hard day's work. And bucket potatoes coming up really nicely. And this year we've got this section of the garden that's quite new. Neighbours are mowing the lawn, so the sound quality might get bad, but because it's quite new ground, it's going to be quite fertile. So this is where the squash and the pumpkins and everything are going to go for this year. This garden, we had the arches that collapsed last year, and all that section's now cleared, so that's going to be a good place for us to start growing lots and lots of things in, because that's going to be full of fertility from where the chicken bedding used to be. More garlic over here with patches left empty for things to be interplanted into. More peas. Wheelbarrow. I mean, my carrot germination's been quite poor this year, but we've got spinach growing like I planted, and I've got my spring onions growing, but no sign of carrots, which is a bit disappointing. I think it might be down to bad seed. Do you know, the seed that I used were quite old, but I've got a new packet and we'll start sowing some more carrots into the carrot containers, into the container garden. So the dwarf fruit trees, this year we're going to have cherries for the first time off this little plant. We might even get a couple of pears on this pear tree as well. The rest of the plants are over that side behind the clothes line, but I can even see some little plums on the plum tree, so if they set, that's going to be an absolutely fantastic thing. In summary, there's lots of work, lots of stuff to catch up on over the last years missing from here, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be catching up on over the next few weekends. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe for regular updates. If you want to support our channel, you can do so by becoming a patron. I'll leave it there for this one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.